Okay, let's dive right into this. We are about to open up a time capsule. Not one, buried in the ground, but one that's been preserved on paper. This is a newsletter from 4 decades ago, and it tells this really remarkable story about youth, community, and the drive for progress.
And here it is, Munnetram, which actually translates to progress. This was the official news bulletin of the Tamil Representative Council's youth wing in Singapore. And honestly, what it reveals about the ambitions and the actions of this group back in 1984, well, it's nothing short of inspiring.
So let's peel back the layers here. What was this community of young people actually trying to do back then? What were the big ideas that were really driving them forward?
This document makes one thing incredibly clear. These folks were not just sitting around. They weren't just consuming culture, they were actively building it. So this newsletter, it isn't just a record of some events, it's practically a blueprint for community action, designed and carried out entirely by young people for young people.
So what's the first step if you want to build a movement? Well, back in 1984, the answer was pretty simple. You get people into the same room, or in this case, the same island. You build those connections face to face.
Their whole strategy was all about engagement. I mean, look at their schedule. You see a mix of just pure fun, picnics and soccer, right alongside more serious stuff like talks and seminars. They really got that a strong community needs both those social bonds and shared goals. It was this whole well-rounded approach to bringing people together.
And did it work? Oh yeah, absolutely. This chart shows their membership just jumped from 250 to 323 in a little over a month. That's a nearly 30% increase. It's so clear that their message and their methods were really resonating. Now, what's really cool is how they celebrated that growth. It wasn't just a number in a report. No, they published the names of the new members, welcoming every single person individually into the group. And that small act, it just transforms a number into a real community of names and faces.
But building the community, that was just one piece of the puzzle. This group was also incredibly forward-thinking. They saw a challenge coming for their culture and they decided to tackle it head-on, using the technology of the day.
They called it the Technology Transfer Program. And this is where they were really smart. Because this wasn't just about typewriters. They had this profound insight. For a language to really live and breathe, people need the actual tools to use it every single day. Their solution was brilliantly direct. Just get those tools into people's hands. And this right here perfectly illustrates their two-pronged approach. On the left, you've got the program itself, the practical how, giving people the typewriters. And then on the right, you have the cultural why, an essay competition to actually encourage young people to use these new tools for creative expression. It's just a perfect marriage of tech and culture.
And this was a serious investment, $550. For a volunteer youth group in 1984, putting that kind of money into a single typewriter, wow, that was a powerful statement of commitment to their cultural future.
As impressive as that was, their vision went even further. Beyond the tech, beyond the social events, they launched what was, you could argue, their most ambitious and impactful project ever, and it was aimed right at the future success of their community: education. This was the fundamental question they asked themselves. And that is a massive challenge for any organization, let alone a youth wing run entirely by volunteers. But their answer was just as massive as the question itself.
They called it the Educational Assistance Program, or MAP. And according to the newsletter, this program was, and I quote, the first of its kind in a history of the Singapore Tamil community. This wasn't just another project. This was a huge landmark initiative.
And here's what made it a landmark: the sheer scale. 400. Let that sink in for a second. That's how many students got free tuition through this program. It was a massive volunteer-run operation across 14 different schools, all built to make sure the next generation could really thrive.
But this group's activism wasn't just about programs and events. They were also sharp social commentators, and they found a really powerful way to make their voices heard: the stage. They wrote, produced, and staged their very own drama called Youth's Success. But this wasn't just some simple entertainment. No, it was a vehicle for a very pointed and, frankly, courageous critique of their own community. This quote from the newsletter explaining the play's theme is just, wow, it's so telling. They were using art to call out a double standard they saw, elders pushing other people's kids to carry the weight of tradition while letting their own off the hook. That is a brave and really sophisticated form of social commentary.
So, when we put all these pieces together, the picnics, the typewriters, the tuition classes, the play, what does this 40-year-old document really tell us? What did progress actually mean to them?
Well, it shows us this incredible four-part strategy. First, they built a strong social fabric. Then, they innovated to preserve their culture. After that, they empowered their peers through education. And finally, they were not afraid to speak truth to power. This was a generation that was actively, and I mean actively, shaping its own destiny.
And ultimately, that's the real takeaway here. Munnetram wasn't just reporting the news. It was documenting a movement. It captured the spirit of a proactive, organized, and really thoughtful generation that wasn't going to let the future just happen to them. They decided they were going to build it themselves.
And that leaves us with one final thought. I mean, the world has changed so dramatically since 1984. The typewriter has been replaced by the smartphone, and community organizing now happens online. But that fundamental mission of young people taking the initiative to build a better future, that part remains the same. So the question is, what does that look like today?